The security around the Prime Minister is again in the spotlight after more hecklers confronted Anthony Albanese on Tuesday night, this time at a hotel in Melbourne where he was staying.
There are hundreds of thousands of Australians around the country who are unable to afford housing. And I have a question for you, Mr Albanese. When are you going to put Australians first?
But this latest incident is a bit different to the heckler who roasted Albo over new coal projects.
You are condemning young people like me to a lifetime of climate disaster.
Tuesday night's heckling wasn't by a greenie, it was by an alt-right bloke who previously posted an image of himself on social media holding a rocket launcher. Now, this bloke was only there to heckle the PM. I'm not suggesting he was doing anything illegal, but it's a continuation of a trend where young men approach Anthony Albanese and heckle him, then put the content on social media. Here's another example.
What about the fact that people my age can't get any housing, we can't get rentals anymore, we have no future in this country anymore? Don't you think that's kind of ridiculous?
Is this why we're seeing less of the pressing of the flesh at shopping centres and more highly orchestrated press conferences at servos and construction sites?
Construction site's a hostile environment, so I'm just going to ask you please watch your feet.
All I know is social media radicalises people, so this trend of the far-right heckling Anthony Albanese is certainly something worth keeping an eye on. And as for me, well, in the process of researching this story, now the algorithm serves me videos like this.
You wolves, $50 for a box of Coke. I've gone and bought a carton of 4X Gold, a 30 block for $50. So I slipped that in the kids' lunchbox this morning. Now I've got to see the principal.
Always overreaching, always dialing it up to 11. But in this case, being quite reckless with a neighbour of Australia.
Well, it's a matter of fact that Indonesia has joined with Russia and with Brazil and with other countries, including China.
Just when you thought disrespectful Russian influences in Bali were bad, now we might have to worry about the Russians stationing nuclear bomb-capable aircraft just north of Darwin. Or do we? Federal politics reporter Ellen Ransley, I didn't have Russia's influence on my bingo card for this federal election. What has happened this week?
Well, that's a great question. So this all started yesterday when a report came out of this really reputable defense magazine, Jane's, who reported that Russia had approached Indonesia to station some military aircraft at one of Indonesia's air bases. Now, we know that Russia and Indonesia have been strengthening their defense ties for some time. They conducted some exercises together at the end of the year. So obviously this created alarm, especially because we're in the midst of an election campaign when obviously national security is a big component. So yesterday afternoon, Richard Marles, the defense minister, managed to speak to his Indonesian counterpart, who told him that the reports were false. But before he had done that, Peter Dutton had gone on ABC and said that the Indonesian president had confirmed these reports. So I think there was a lot of putting the cart before the horse yesterday. It seemed that the ministers, Penny Wong and Richard Marles, seemed to be on the back foot, Anthony Albanese as well. They were all trying to scramble, figure out if this report was true or not. Indonesia says it has no intention of granting Russia permission.
Is a single person living in one of these houses from this program?
We've built a couple of thousand.
Has a single person actually moved into one of these houses?
We've built a couple of thousand houses. There's 28,000 more in the pipeline right now, and there'll be fewer under your proposal because you want to cut the Housing Australia Future Fund.
Ellen Ransley, where do you think the two parties are at the moment in terms of convincing voters that they are the best option to solve the housing crisis?
Well, I mean, housing is obviously one of the biggest issues at this election, and we saw that when both Peter Dutton and Anthony Albanese used their campaign launches on the weekend to announce pretty significant policies. In terms of how they're getting voters on side, there was a YouGov poll out today that found that Labor's policies appear to be cutting through more with voters. Why that is, I mean, I think part of it maybe is the coalition's policy takes a bit of explaining. It's a bit more convoluted. You know, you start talking about tax and a lot of people, you know, kind of might fall asleep or they might get themselves a bit confused. I think the Labor's policy is a bit more palatable for voters. I think they can more easily understand what that is. I think also being in government has helped Labor kind of sell their policies. You know, they've made a lot of noise about the work they've done in the 3 years, the kind of blocking that the coalition and the Greens have done in trying to build new houses, for example. So I think this will continue to dominate the election for the next couple of weeks. I mean, Peter Dutton and Anthony Albanese have done, I've lost count of how many housing sites they've visited in the past couple of days. But it's definitely, you know, it's definitely the background of choice at the moment. They're both trying to sell their policies as the better one for voters.